why was she out at 12 o'clock at night? What was she wearing? Whom was she with? Oh my God, public space is so unsafe for men. Let's keep them inside.
Welcome, Professor Phadke, to Schindler. Great to have you today with us.
I'm happy to be here.
Yeah. So I was just going through some of your research, and I came to know that you have researched extensively on the topic of public access to women, especially in urban environments, or maybe the lack of it today. And this research you've done quite a lot, say around 15 years back or so. Do you still feel after all this time, and with the growth that we have had in digitization and the overall education, do you think that the findings are still true today for this?
So you're absolutely right. We did this between 2003 and 2006, and it looked at women's access to public space in Mumbai. And what we were looking at was women's levels of comfort, the numbers of women. And one of the things we found really interestingly was that even at peak traffic time, going home and coming back from office, there were never more than 28% women in public space. Now, this has not dramatically changed in the last 20 years in a broad sense. And one of the things is that we did this research between 2003 and 6, and then we wrote a book which was called Why Loiter, Women and Risk on Mumbai Streets, which was published in 2011. And we kept waiting for our book to date, you know, to say that, okay, now things have changed. But very, very tragically, very, very little has changed. But what has changed is this, that there's less access. Or on Marine Drive, for instance. When we did our research, you could hang out on Marine Drive. Now, by about 1:30 at night, the police will come and they'll start shooing you away. So there's actually less access, but nothing very much else has changed.
But now coming to this point, so you have of course focused your research on Amchi Mumbai. Of course you know Mumbai very well, but do you think this relates across to the other cities and especially the towns?
So one of the things we were being asked even when we did this research is, why are you studying Mumbai? That there's so much more access. And particularly when we interviewed women who had come from other cities, they'd say like, y'all have no idea how good it is here compared to the towns, particularly the smaller towns that we come from. And so we said, okay, if this is the level of access that women have to the city, then how good is it? And we found actually it was pretty poor. But what does, and Mumbai was different then, it continues to be different, largely for a variety of reasons. One is public transport. The second is that Mumbai is not a planned city. So workplaces and residential places are mixed. So it's a much more vibrant place. People are hanging around, and so women can move more easily. So Mumbai was different. But for instance, in those cities where public transport is expanding, so for instance, many women will say that Delhi has, at least those parts of the Delhi that are served by the metro have changed for them. It has changed access. So public transport was a very big element of what made Mumbai different. But nonetheless, what we found would be true for even more so, in fact, for other cities.
How could the government or the regulator or the municipal corporations, along with the corporate, work towards improving this? Because I hear you saying that, you know, if there has to be, say, better infra, better transport, better lighting, things like this. Could you give us some more examples of what could be done to make this happen?
For the municipal corporation or the government in any way, infrastructure is key. So public transport makes a dramatic difference. The other thing we always said is that the greatest symbol of women's lack of access to public space is the lack of public toilets. So the provision of public toilets, you know, because most public toilets you have, there are few and far between, and the ones you have will close at 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night. So what's the message you send out? That we expect no women to be on the streets after 9, 10, 11, whatever time that toilet shuts, you know. So the provision of public toilets. Also, as you just said, street lighting makes a very big difference.
True. So that's good. So that's what the corporate can do, what the government can do, and it's not something which is very, very extraordinary. It's very basic. It just needs the discipline and the choice to do it by all the parties involved over here. Thank you. You know, over the years, I can't help but notice, you know, all the corporates, all the companies, and across India, there's a huge push to, you know, make the whole environment more inclusive. You know, and for letting people take the choices that they have to take, and that involves an element of risk. You know, how much risk you can take. You know, and what are your thoughts about it? Do you think today women are free to take the risks that they want to take, and if not, then what is stopping them doing that?
So we spent a great deal of time engaging with the idea of risk, right? And we found that women's access to public space is mediated through the notion of safety, that women should be safe. Now, in order for women to be safe, often it means that they are told, oh, you must be home before dark, oh, please call us. So there's a lot of control. And in order for women to be worthy of safety, they have to dress respectably, they have to go out purposefully. So it was a highly, so we found that safety was in fact not expanding women's access to public space in any way. And we began to start thinking about what we call the right to risk, which is not that I should never be attacked, but that if I am attacked, nobody should question my right to be there. Concomitantly, it's not as if men are never attacked in public space. Men get beaten up, they get killed, but nobody says, oh my God, public space is so unsafe for men, let's keep them inside, right? So what we began to argue is that what women need in order to access public space unconditionally is not safety, is not conditional safety, but in fact the right to take risks, which is that if I get assaulted tomorrow, then legal medical processes should apply, and nobody needs to say, oh, why was she out at 12 o'clock at night, what was she wearing, whom was she with, all of these questions that question women's right to be out in public space.
In these whole conditions that you have, and on this occasion of Women's Day that we are talking about access to women in urban environments, in the corporate world, what would be your advice to the women?
Two things. I mean, I think there's a whole host of things that many people can do, but two things. One is to collectivize. That is that together we are much stronger than we are alone. So if you're able to build a movement with others, so if you remember, Sheryl Sandberg wrote a book called Lean In. Now, Lean In was dependent a great deal on women negotiating for themselves, right? Women advocating for themselves. And it fits very much into a neoliberal paradigm, right? It's about individualism. Instead of leaning in individually, what we need is for women to collectivize and to make claims as a group, right? The second thing that we need is mentoring. We need people to mentor women. We need preferably women in higher management to mentor other women, but also men and everybody to mentor.
So thank you so much, Dr. Phadke, for your comments today, and I hope after seeing this video, people see that one thing that they can do to make this dream into a reality, not in 20-30 years, but maybe in the next 5 to 10 years. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure chatting with you.
Likewise.
Schindler. We elevate.